Hiya. Hello, hello, hello. If you are just joining, welcome. Happy Freaky Friday. Hope everyone is keeping well. If you're just joining, do leave a comment in the live stream chat. It'd be lovely to hear from you. And it's been a little while since I've done a video like this. It's going to be on just the November astrology in general. So I'm going to be talking with all of you about the transits basically, and we're going to go very briefly day by day through November. So those of you interested in next month's astrology, this is the video for you. And hello if you are tuning in. It's lovely to see you. Happy Freaky Friday. I've got some tea here, sleepy tea. Smells amazing, but it's a bit too hot. So I'll just wait a couple more minutes. But I hope everyone is fine. Let me know how you are in the live chat. How is your weekend starting? How is your weekend starting? How is Scorpio season treating you thus far? And for those of you who are new and just joining my channel, my name is Henny. I am a tarot reader and astrologer. And if you'd like a reading with me, you can take a look at the description below later. I'll put my details there so you can check out my services. Otherwise, you can go to hennyhigh.com and check out my services and testimonials. Everything is there. Or you can get in touch at queerhenny@gmail.com. Okay, so November. It's already the end of October, pretty much. Okay, we end this month, of course, with Halloween. And of course, November marks the combination of the last part of Scorpio season and the first part of Sagittarius season. Okay, so we are heading ever closer to the end of the astro year. But let's talk a little bit, just very briefly, about Scorpio season. Okay, so the first part of November. And Scorpio season is really the concentrated part or the most intense part of Scorpio season and Scorpio seasonal energies. And regardless of what year it is, every single zodiacal season, there is a sort of base of themes and energies that's always there for that particular zodiacal season. And in the Scorpio seasonal sense, I always, if you've been with me on my channel for a while, you know that I call Scorpio season or the 8th house the well. Okay, it's this deep, dark well. It's kind of like the psychologist's room sometimes. It's also sort of like sitting down with yourself in the dark with a candle and looking in the mirror and having to look at yourself. That's Scorpio season. So it's quite different to Libra season, which came before, right? So Scorpio season is season of the well all the time. But in this 2020 year specifically, it can be even more jarring for some of us because a lot of us are more homebound, more isolated. And so it can feel even more intense for some people. We can feel like we're even more alone or having to go through more of an intense transformative situation, because Scorpio energy, I'm sure you know, is associated with transformations, the beginning of cycles, the end of cycles, birth, death, sex as well, sexiness, sexual energy, and just like all round intense energy, because Scorpio is a fixed water sign. It's often called an ice sign actually, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars actually, and Mars is retrograde as well still, and still into a bit of November it's going to remain retrograde. So Scorpios, if you're a Scorpio sun or rising, November and even a couple months before, it's been quite intense for a lot of you, or it's felt slower for a lot of you. But yes, Scorpio season, then the season of the well. And it's also got this theme of secrecy, Scorpio season. And that can mean a lot of things, such as secrets coming out, so your secrets, or other people's secrets. And also we have Mercury retrograde right now. And Mercury retrograde started in Scorpio, actually. Right now it's in Libra. But it did start in Scorpio. And that, including the shadow period before official Scorpio retrograde, it kicked off a lot of scorpionic stuff, a lot of sort of secret or hidden things bubbling up and having to require your attention, okay, and needing your hands to be put to it. Mercury puts hands to things, puts your mind to things, to figure things out, or to research things, and so on. So yeah, Scorpio season is always about secrecy. And it can be doing secret things as well. So you do secret things, you do taboo things maybe, or you just do really private things more in this season. But secrecy also means like resources. So this is something that people don't often talk about in Scorpio season or with Scorpio energy. But this energy is very resourceful, super resourceful. Like a lot of Scorpionic people are quite rich, or they're very good at saving, or they work a lot of different jobs and they have a lot of different, savings. And this is what helps them remain very powerful and resourceful. And of course, Scorpio is the opposite of Taurus. So of course, Scorpio is very similar to the fixed earth sign Taurus in some ways. They both like the money. They both gravitate towards money and material, so as to ground and further secure themselves, right? So you might find that Scorpio season is very useful for you in terms of your resources, and November is going to remain important for your resources. So keeping tabs on them, basically, keeping tabs on any kind of financial contract you have, your phone contract. Scorpio season is a great season to change your phone contract if you're paying too much, if you've always been paying too much, for example, or to check, especially with Mercury retrograde, to check the conditions of a certain loan that you might have taken out, and that kind of stuff. So anything like that is financial or to do with resources, shared resources, other people's stuff, take care in Scorpio season and pay more attention to the details of what exactly you're getting involved in and what you can, if possible, end. Can you cut any contracts? Can you get yourself out of any agreements to actually improve yourself moving forward into Sagittarius season, which is the latter part of November? Scorpio season is also about truth. Hiya, Kelly. How are you doing? Yeah, Scorpio season is also about truth, right? And again, this can mean many different things. It can mean you coming more to terms with the truth, basically, you feeling out the truth more. Because it's a water sign season again. So it's a lot about intuition, but like feeling the truth, but it's in the Scorpionic sense. So it's kind of like oftentimes a cold, hard truth sort of sense. Or it can even have issues of like emotions boiling up to the surface with regard to the truth somehow. If you imagine that Scorpio is like thick, thick, thick ice, but it's also boiling water underneath the surface, and it's sort of coming up very slowly, but eventually it's going to melt that ice and some sort of ocean volcanic eruption is going to happen. That's Scorpio. But oftentimes this eruption doesn't happen externally. It remains like an internal eruption or a revelation, but it's still transformative. It's still powerful and intense. Hope you're doing well, Kelly. Happy Freaky Friday. But also it can be about admitting things to yourself as well, Scorpio season. So anything you've been lying to yourself about or lying to others about, or vice versa, other people lying to themselves or to you. Truth kind of has a way of coming out and forcing people to come out as well. I'm doing very well as well. Thank you very much. I'm very happy with my tea. It's a nice Freaky Friday. It's been a good week. And I think November is going to be a fantastic month, relatively speaking. Yes, I'm very comfy in my dressing gown. It is like 8:30 almost p.m. here in London, and it's very cold, October, November weather. It gets really dark very early, and I don't really like the cold, so I love to just be comfy, cozy, with like Netflix, some tea, or like, if it weren't pandemic, be in a cafe as well, with a nice hot chocolate or something like that, I just love those vibes. I'm very Cancerian like that. I like those vibes. I don't like to be out in the actual cold. No. But okay, Scorpio season's also about cores. So the core of things, your core, or the core of something else or someone else, and sort of kernels and hearts, and also bonds. So any kind of intense, deep bond that's emotional, very intense, that you have with things, with people. That's very Scorpio season, and it's going to bubble up to the surface. If it hasn't now, it's going to in November, because Scorpio just gets more intense next month. And also Scorpio season, sort of Libra into Scorpio season, marks this thin veil part of the astral year. So a lot of people talk about this thin veil, and it is sort of the season of the dead, or the season of when the fae, the good people, come out, or the not so good people come out more, or the likelihood of interacting with other worlds and hidden beings and dark magic, and all of it becomes more likely and easier. Okay, so it is a good season, Scorpio season, if you are a practitioner of magic, to practice magic, to do rituals. But also it's a serious season. Remember, it's an intense season. So if you are doing it, you've got to do it right. And you've got to do it with serious intention and serious commitment, because Scorpio is about those bonds, the intense bonds. Alrighty, so be careful if you're a witch. Also, though, this thin veil sort of Scorpio season can bring us nightmares and spooks and just really bizarre things. Scorpio season can do that, especially with Mercury retrograde right now. Some of you might have a nightmare or two, especially maybe in the middle of October, when Scorpio season sort of began. You might have had that sort of weird dreams. And Scorpio season is also about just mundane things that were hidden, but they're being illuminated now, because the sun is traveling through Scorpio. So they're being illuminated, coming to your attention. And that can be anything like plumbing issues, mold, anything that was under the surface, in the walls, in the ceiling, sort of coming. And it definitely, this kind of thing was already starting to come to our mental attention when Mercury was in the shadow period and went into retrograde in Scorpio. That was back in Libra season. It was already starting then, that kind of hidden thing coming to the surface. And it can also be neighbors as well, like neighbors you've never met, just sort of coming to the surface, who live really close to you, but you never seen them until now. We never interacted with them until now. That kind of thing can happen. Or like strangers in the neighborhood as well, having to interact with them suddenly. Okay, or people, especially with Mercury retrograde, people crawling out of the woodwork. Okay, exes, especially in Mercury retrograde, that's very typical. Or like anyone, manipulative people, or anyone you had a previous sort of tight, fast, emotional, intense bond with as well, can come back up. So take care in Scorpio season. And finally, Scorpio season is also about dark calm. That's what I want to call it, dark calm. So it is really a great time to be with yourself, to enjoy embracing your shadow side and working with your shadow, and working with darkness and black magic, dark magic, shadow work sometimes as well. And to be okay with that as well, because that is part of life, it's part of spirit, it's part of who you are. And to not shun it, and to not embrace shame or anything like that, but to work with it. The sun is going through Scorpio for a reason, to help us work with shadow and to not be afraid. So be calm with that. And we can also really enjoy solitude in Scorpio season. And so in the early part or the first part of November, enjoy your solitude. Enjoy just being with a select few of your most intense friends, family, or best friends, or those you really can trust and rely on. It's really a season to cherish them, to cherish those bonds that you've made. Okay, so that's kind of the Scorpio side of November. But then we're going to go into the latter part of November, which is going to be Sag season, right? Sagittarius season. And it's very different, right? It's a fire season. And it's the last fire season of the astro year. So, of course, Sag wants, for the sake of the fire signs, Sag wants to go out with a bang often, every year. But, of course, this particular 2020, it's different slightly. We do have lots of planets in Capricorn, which kind of say no to a lot of the Sag vibes. So I think the first part of Sag season can feel a bit slower than usual. I found, for example, last year in Sagittarius season, it was very quick. Like even before Sag season started, it was very quick. We were in it. The fire was there very quickly. And the freedom and everything started to really roll in quickly. Yes, Kelly, trauma surfacing. That's a perfect Scorpio season illustration. And yet things that you never thought bothered you as well. Absolutely. And I'm going to talk a little bit very soon about the full moon, which is coming officially very soon, in relation to things that we never thought about or never thought would change. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, trauma is coming to the surface. Scorpio is so often associated with trauma. Absolutely. And yeah, when we get into Sag season, so the latter part of November, if you remember, I said Scorpio season is the deep, dark well of the astro year. Sag season represents when we get out of the well. Okay, we're done with the psychologists. We're done with the looking in the mirror, metaphysical mirror. We're done with the exploring your chasms, okay, your inner chasms, as Kath would say from the Australian comedy sitcom Kath and Kim. Has anyone seen Kath and Kim on Netflix? It's hilarious. Please watch it if you have Netflix. Please, it's amazing. Especially if you love having a good giggle. Okay, watch it. Kath and Kim. But anyway, yes, exploring your inner chasms. All that's kind of Sagittarius wants to help us get away from all of that. Sag is like, no. Alrighty, see you next time, Kelly. Yeah, come back later. Mwah. But yeah, Sag wants us to run away from all of that. And so Sag is about getting out of the well and sort of flying like a butterfly or like the phoenix or like a bird through the high blue skies, symbolically. And so you can imagine then that Sag season is very much about convictions and optimism. So finally feeling like you are able to get back out there, basically. You've fought some of your demons, you've cut some ties, you've ended some cycles, you've dealt maybe with a trauma or two. And so now you have a lot of conviction, you have a lot of fighting power. And also you have a lot of optimism, because Sagittarius is so often Nicki Minaj lyric, right? Sagittarius, you know, I'm an optimist, right? So it's about optimism, but also like philosophizing, using that optimism as a philosophy for life. Okay, so it's not just that you're being in Sag season happier, but that happiness is an actual energy that you use to take through the harder things in life and the harsher realities. So it's not just like a simple absent-minded thing. It's a very powerful type of energy that really can help you through, if you're in the northern hemisphere, through the actual literal winter, but for all of us, through the metaphysical winter, the spiritual winter, that is Sag going into Capricorn and then into Aquarius season. So conviction and optimism in late November starts to creep in for us. Okay, let me have a sip. Also, remember, Sagittarius is a fire sign. It's a mutable fire sign, so it can be quite wild, mutable, changing, unpredictable, all directions, thinly spread, and it's fire. Fire burns, right? It scalds. And so Sag season, the later part of November, can bring you some more action and some more attacks. So don't be surprised if you start getting in like arguments with others, like passionate, heated arguments. And it also brings a propagation sort of energy to our lives. So this might be you wanting to spread your message. Maybe you, for example, have overcome a particular trauma. So you want to go out there and tell everyone about it and how they can overcome their trauma. That's excellent sometimes, right? For other people, this propagation energy kind of gets mishandled and it becomes more about something a bit too worldly or collective, and like they want to preach a certain religion or preach a certain collection of morals or values, which kind of annoys everyone else. And so that can happen, and watch out, because Scorpio season gives you all that intensity and that fixation, but be careful what you obsess over, because Scorpio is obsession, and be careful what you fixate on, because that season was about fixation. Because once you get into Sag season, it's kind of likely that you will carry what you fixated on into the world. And now it's an outgoing season, Sag season. So it's less internal and more getting out there and spreading that word. So now you have a chance to take care, to dive a little deeper for some of us into what we're actually obsessing over, or what we're actually, sometimes it's paranoia. It is for some people, Scorpio season. So be careful and assess and think about about a month's time and what that might look like for you. What will other people think of it? Is it something that you actually want to project or put out there in Sag season into November, December? Okay. Sag season is also about freedom, of course, because we're coming out of the well, right? We're that bird, that butterfly, the phoenix, out of the well, out of the darkness. We've done some shadow work, and now we want to have fun, because Sag wants to have fun, wants to kick back, wants to kick sometimes, wants to get the air guitar out and just have fun. And so freedom and feeling free and feeling light. Oh my God, feeling so much lighter than in Scorpio season, and feeling so much less responsible as well. You'll find that a lot of your responsibilities that you didn't need, that were weighing you down, get cut away in late Scorpio season, early Sag season. So in November, one or two kind of weighing down sort of things or people will just be gone, and you'll feel the freedom, you'll feel the lightness already. And that's going to help as well more with the optimism and the happiness, finally returning in some senses to happier times or more hopeful times. And this can even be in relation to the pandemic. In certain parts of the world, places, you might be feeling that things are feeling slightly easier or lighter. There's more literal freedom to commute or to socialize, for example. And Sag season is also going to bring more curiosity and questioning. So don't be surprised if in November you start to literally ask more questions of people and pursue with more passion and conviction more of your curiosities. But just be careful, because Sag is also about going the extra mile, or crossing boundaries, or traveling and venturing. And because Sag is ruled by Jupiter, this season, of course, can be about going overboard or taking things too far, or speaking before you think. And so that kind of thing can really happen in Sag season, especially once Saturn has hit Aquarius and Jupiter has hit Aquarius. There's a lot more free thinking and rebelliousness come December, January. People are going to be much more open-minded and much I don't give a frig about it come December, January. Because Saturn will finally be in a different energy, and Jupiter will finally be out of its fall in Capricorn, where it's been for about a year now, right? And did not like that, okay? And finally, Sag season, so late November, can bring more serendipity as well to your life. So more just let yourself just embrace, okay, in late November, let yourself embrace that sort of Centaurian, I'm just wandering around, open to experience rather than actively searching or obsessing over finding an experience. So just be open, and then you'll find that you'll learn and experience so much more in late November, and that'll be very like serendipitous. It'll feel lucky, and more like beneficial things will come to you. More opportunities will just find, you will just find them by simply being and simply pursuing the fun things and the happy people and the light vibes, that kind of thing. You'll find opportunities and all that fun jazz. So let's take a look then at the actual transits. So we're going to start with November 1st. So November 1st, we are on the tail end of this full moon in Taurus, which is actually officially on the 31st of October, so 2 days from now-ish, depending on where you are. And it's a Halloween full moon. It's a pretty special full moon. It's called a blue moon because it's only once in a blue moon that we have. I think we had 3 moons in 1 month or in the same month. And that's why it's called a blue moon, because it's once in a blue moon. But just generally, full moons are moments of culmination, extreme reaction or extreme reflection or extreme realization. Sometimes it's about the crazy, but the moon is exalted actually in the sign of Taurus. So I feel for most of us, for the most part, it's a good full moon. And also I want to add that you might have already been experiencing the full moon, like even up to 2 weeks before the 31st of October. So you might have actually had some sort of Taurian reaction or realization or culmination. And likewise, you can even still feel it up to 2 weeks after the official date, the 31st. Sometimes people feel it exactly on the date or a day before, a day after, but it depends on you individually. It's a great idea if you want to keep a moon journal, so around the new and the full moon. See how it affected you, if at all, and then read astrologers' sort of descriptions of what the moons mean, and try to read when exactly in that month you were most vibing with those interpretations, and that's probably when you are most in tune with the new or full moon energies. All right, so we do, on the 1st of November, we're still riding the tail end of the full moon. For some people, again, it's still going to feel very intense, this full moon in Taurus energy. And what is also going on is we have Venus in Libra, 5 degrees, exactly opposing Chiron in Aries. And Chiron's retrograde in Aries right now and on the 1st of November as well. And so this is oppositional energy. So 1st of November, especially, try to really avoid repeatedly putting yourself in relationships or relating yourself to things where you are overly giving for the sake of diplomacy, or you're overly giving for the sake of an agreement or negotiation. Remember, this is Scorpio season still. So feel a bit freer to cut certain ties that are continually toxic or not doing you any good. Remember, Scorpio season is also about resources. So money, finances. If you are still in a relationship with someone, whether it's business, romantic, friend, whatever, and you're always giving to your detriment, okay, to the detriment of your initiation, your independence, to the detriment of your individuality, all these Aries type things, then don't be afraid to cut it off, to distance yourself. That kind of thing is really good to do in Scorpio season. Because with this Venus-Chiron opposition, the temptation is there for us to, just do it again, basically, especially if this is a pattern of yours, to just give again overly, to heal someone again, help someone again. And they might be a superficial individual in your life who is just momentarily coming to you for this help, this guidance, but they'll be gone later, okay? So just take care. And also Try for others. This means November 1st is the day where there's some tension and a call for you to really stop sort of letting your wounds fester or obsessing over your wounds when it comes to your independence, when it comes to not feeling like you can assert yourself or not feeling like you can lead in some ways. Try, if that's relating to you, try to just do something more Libran. Okay, Venus and Libra, do something more Libran, which is like pleasure. Okay, go and like, I don't know, do something cultural, whatever cultural means for you. Paint, get into music, go out with friends if you can, or Zoom, virtual pub meet with friends if you can, and keep things sort of light, conversational, social, and see if that helps you on this day. Relieve some of the oppositional tension, which is really going to be super strong on November 1st. It's also the day of the first, number one energy here. So we want to focus on ourselves, but doing the best thing for ourselves. So not obsessing over, oh my God, I'm still really hurt and wounded, or oh my God, I'm not asserting myself, or I'm still not independent, or whatever. Not that, but how can I actually deal with this and keep getting on with my life? How can I do that? And you might find that you can do it through socializing or through just putting yourself into pleasurable activities or interactions already. And of course, the moon is really strongly trining Pluto on this day. Okay, the moon in Taurus, again, still in this full moon energy, and then Pluto in Capricorn, and Pluto's actually strongly conjunct Jupiter as well. Okay, so this trine is like, it's a perfect day, November 1st, and from the November 1st date to sort of intuit sensibly things that you just need to sort of detox out of your limits. Okay, that can be people, that can be things, that can be any item, whatever it is that is sort of poisoning even things like your status. Okay, poisoning your status because it's in Capricorn, or poisoning your work ethic or your ability to get returns karmically for your work. So it's a great day to get some intuitional knowledge as to how to just push the toxic things, people, whatever, away, so that you can actually focus on work or focus on protecting your limits, your boundaries already. And of course, we still have the Mercury retrograde. And Mercury is going to be strongly square Saturn on November 1st. So beginning of November, strong Mercury-Saturn square. So be very careful what you say, because Mercury is retrograde, Saturn is direct, and Saturn's in Capricorn. Saturn's very comfortable in Capricorn. Saturn arguably has power over Mercury in this square. So be careful what you say. Try not to say superficial things or indulge in gossip, especially if it's gossiping about the same people or things of the past. Try to avoid it, because it can really bite you in the behind today on November 1st. Just try to avoid that. Okay, November 2nd, then we have that trine. It's gone, basically. The trine between the moon and Pluto and Jupiter, it's gone. So November 1st is a good day to focus on detoxing your environment in terms of work or boundaries. But then November 2nd, the trine is just gone. So that magic has sort of really dissipated. But we still do have a bit of an opposition between Venus and Chiron. And of course, we still have the square between Mercury, and also Mercury is squaring Saturn and Pluto on November 2nd. So again, watch what you say. Try not to engage in like toxic thoughts either, especially even just thoughts about yourself. Try not to tell yourself Plutonian toxic things that keep you in sort of vicious cycles where you are your own worst enemy and you just always punish yourself, kind of thing. Try not to think those thoughts and to get out of your head if you can on November 2nd as well. So beginning of November, basically. And what else? We have a nice trine between the moon and Venus on November 2nd. Okay, so great to just socialize again. The magic is there. Socialize, you can do it, or to take responsibility in your relationships in some conversational way, probably. Okay, so to have a nice chat with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and to keep it social, to keep it light, to keep it nice and interesting. Okay, so good Gemini and Libran vibes coming together. Alrighty, so November 3rd, we have pretty much the same square between Mercury and those planets in Capricorn. So to keep that in mind. And let's skip to November 4th. Pretty much the same type of energy going on, more squareage. Okay, but the moon on November 4th is 29 degrees Gemini. So it's in the boiling point. It's the highest point of Gemini. So just watch out, like emotionally, like reacting with something that's a bit too witty for someone. Okay, because the moon is how we react, and Gemini is all about the head, the mind, and being witty, being clever. So clever remarks or reactions, and it's Scorpio season, so scathingly clever remarks could be quite likely with the moon 29 degrees Gemini. But also it's a great transit on November 4th for really, really, really getting great downloads when it comes to mental, like how to figure out how to progress, especially if you're still struggling with the lockdown and the pandemic. It could be a great day to really get square and focused and set, thanks to some mental downloads that are also very intuitional. You might have a nice idea. You might just hear something on the TV or the radio or from someone, and you just like, yeah, and then it all comes together, and it's great for you. Okay, November 5th, we do get this square now between Venus and the moon. The moon's in Cancer, all right, and Venus is in Libra. So this square suggests to me that on the 5th, and the 5th, the number 5 is a day sometimes of problems or conflict, but it's also the day of power and challenge. So keep that in mind if that resonates for you. But the moon is going to be in Cancer, and this is like really emotional reactions and really sensitive, feeling really sensitive, and it's not gonna, so basically overly sensitive reactions are not going to gel well with the vibe of the collective, because Venus is the vibe and our vibe is supposed to be more Libran right now. So try, if you can, to check yourself first to see if your reaction is going to be just too sensitive, and try to be more, like, have more tact, decorum, and try to just, like, even just to intellectually talk something out or through, rather than like having an emotional reaction or being impulsive. We do have Mars still retrograde in Aries, right? So keep that in mind as well, please, that Mars in retrograde is all about check yourself before you act. Slow your actions down and then slow them way down again, because Mars is in Aries. So slow, 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 check, 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 and then say, and then act. Because yeah, Venus just isn't having it with the moon on this day. Venus is like, no, we don't need like overly emotional people. This is like a party or a gathering, or this is like a meeting. We need to like keep things cordial and balanced, and we need to see each other's perspectives, even though we intuit that other people's perspectives are shiz, right? We need to like keep that to ourselves on the 5th. Hiya, if you're just tuning in, we are going through day by day the November astrology. Do leave a comment if you're watching live. Let me know how your Scorpio season's going thus far. Okay, so the 6th of November, then we have Mercury now direct properly. So Mercury is properly direct. Actually, Mercury went direct sort of on the 4th. I didn't mention that, but on the 4th, officially Mercury is direct. But Mercury always takes a week or even more to sort of get out of this shadow, and for the retrograde energies to really fizzle out and be done. That's about a week or more. And so keep that in mind. So we do have Mercury direct now, but there's a lot of squarage and there's oppositional energy as well on the 6th. This speaks to me because it's the 6th. This is saying to me that we need to be really mature and just like have our affairs in order and be grown up on the 6th. And we have an opposition between the moon in Cancer and then those planets, all those planets in Capricorn. So it's not good. It's a very like messy opposition, a fight between these two powers, because the moon's really comfortable in Cancer and Saturn is really comfortable in Capricorn. But Saturn also kind of has Pluto and Jupiter on its team in this opposition. So again, really try to resist emotional reactions, oversensitivity to anything to do with like work, reputation, anything to do with like effort and the time that everything is taking for you to get returns. Just embrace the slow slog energy of it all, okay, for the rest of 2020 and even into 2021. Please embrace the slow slog energy. It's going to do you wonders if you just accept it and move on, rather than dwell in it and how things aren't coming faster for you. Please, because it's so easy on the 6th with this opposition to just overly react to authority figures or overly react to anything, anyone that is placing a boundary or a gateway that they lock in front of you. And also, there could easily be wise, these wise ass people who have something to say, right, about their own reputation or status or your reputation or status, and who might be doing it in a manipulative way or a toxic way. Please try to avoid this kind of energy. Again, just sit in your feelings, sit with your feelings, and if you can, find ways to sort of redirect them, okay, or channel them. Mars retrograde still, right? Okay, November 7th then, and Mercury is now getting into the boiling point in Libra. Okay, so building up, Libran mentality is really intensifying. And so this is more diplomatic thinking, or more superficial thinking for some of us sometimes. This is more tit for tat thinking as well sometimes. So keep that in mind too. And then we have a trine, a nice trine starting between the Sun in Scorpio and retrograding Neptune in Pisces. And I love this trine period that we're going to have in November, because it's like illumination of the illusions, illumination of the delusions. We've been going through this Neptune retrograde, wake up and smell the coffee, for a while now. But the Sun is just going to make it with this trine. It's going to make it really possible for you to really clearly see the illusion or the lie in something, or the beauty of the lie. You really see it. It comes to life with the Sun trine Neptune here. And with the Sun in Scorpio as well, you're able to get to the truth of it and really deep dive if you want to. But just be careful not to like overthink it, or to obsess over it. Yeah, keep that in mind. But that is a trine that is basically getting really strong from the 7th of November. Alrighty. Okay, so 8th of November, we have a lot of Scorpionic energy on this particular day, because we have the 8, which is a Scorpionic number, and we have the Sun, of course, in Scorpio. And then we have Mercury getting more intense, of course, 28 degrees in Libra. But we have basically this trine, again, building up between the Sun and Neptune, some more intense illumination of the illusions, delusions, deceit. And then Jupiter is exactly on top of Pluto, or they're both exactly conjunct at 22 degrees in Capricorns. This is major, major, major expansion of and like philosophical reflection of, and just knowing what needs to be detoxed from anything Capricornian. So business, from your boundaries, from your reputation, all that kind of jazz. Big expansion time and reflection, philosophical reflection time. And Jupiter is working really hard and doing a really great job for us, even though Jupiter does not like to be here. It's raising a lot of questions that are very serious questions for us to ask about things like work and reputation. So take advantage of it, because it's touching Pluto so perfectly. And we're getting so much real, gritty truth when it comes to these Capricornian themes. Okay, and then hallelujah, we have a 9, November 9th, we have a bit of optimism, a bit more of the hope energy coming through on this day. And yeah, this trine between the Sun and Neptune intensifying again. Okay. And then on November 10th, we have more action going on. So we have the Moon in Virgo squaring the North Node, which is retrograding in Gemini. And then we've got that North Node, of course, which has been for a long time squaring Neptune in Pisces. But this Moon square the North Node can give us like an overly analytical, emotional state of where we're going, and like also trying to review it a bit too much, review our direction a bit too much. So please keep that in mind. Take care with that. And Mercury on this day is 29 degrees. Okay, the max boiling point of Libra. So it's a great time for relational things to be resolved or communicated, and also really psychic relational things, downloads coming through all of this mercurial intense energy. And 18 degrees, Sun in Scorpio as well. 8-1 is the 9, right? and so this is knowing as well. Much more knowing intensifies. And the Moon is sextiling the Sun at this point. And this is like a recipe for, sextiles are recipes for anything to happen. But that anything is like the combination of the two energies. So it's the Moon in Virgo and it's the Sun in Scorpio. And so what this means is like everything is going to be set and there for a very, let's say, in the good sense, a very correct, intuitional illumination of the truth. That kind of thing can really come. So that's the Moon, Virgo, Sun, and Scorpio coming together. In less great ways, it can manifest as really sort of hypercritical and egotistical and just like really menacing or not nice at all sort of outbursts or reactions. So keep that in check as well, because if you do have any of these feelings of, I really just want to criticize that person or that thing, and I can because I've illuminated these facts or whatever, on this day, the 10th, it's very likely you're just going to do that because the energies are sextiling. Okay, so keep that sort of recipe in mind. And then on the 11th, of course, Mercury enters Scorpio. So we are starting now to get back into the typical Scorpio season mental energies and downloading more of the bizarre Scorpio seasonal things. Okay, and mentally sensing the thin veil and maybe getting messages through, whenever you go into your psyche or whenever you deep dive somehow in a Scorpionic way, you might get even more messages from this date, November 11th, because Mercury is back in Scorpio, out of that retrograde, remember. Okay, and also the Moon just enters Libra, and so Moon and Venus both in Libra, really nice energies actually for things like self-care and socializing, and a little bit of indulgence. But the Moon will, of course, be beginning again this opposition with Chiron. So go back to what I said about the beginning of the month and this opposition with Chiron. That kind of energy is returning now that the Moon is back in Libra. And yes, okay, let's move on to November 12th. Okay, so we have on the 12th, the Moon is going to be conjunct Venus. Okay, so even more intense energy to socialize, to take responsibility in your relationships in a kind of maternal way, or just at least in a very responsible way, in a very reactive way. And it's going to be harmonious, it's going to be balanced. And there's also this really strong trine that the moon and Venus are making to the North Node in Gemini, which is still retrograde at this point. And this I'm reading as perfect sort of psychic relational intuition and vibes about where you're headed in life, and also how to make adjustments when it comes to where you're headed, and just feeling better as well, and more aligned, hopefully, more balanced when it comes to where you're headed. So it could be a really good day. And it's the 12th, so it's 12 energy, which is a Libra number, or it's a divine number. And it breaks down, of course, to the 3, and we get then more cardinal energy. So I get this sense of this day being a great opportunity for those of you who want to use some magic, perform some ritual, make some investment that gets you even more on track, or helps you get back on track. Alrighty, let me just take a sip. Okay, we've got the 13th of November then. And what's happening here is that Saturn actually in Capricorn begins the beginning of the boiling point, what I call the boiling point. So 27 degrees Capricorn. So Saturn is really starting to intensify and gear up to change signs. So eventually it is going to be in Aquarius. Finally. And what we have also is, again, this beautiful trine, this magic exact trine between Venus and the North Node. Some more magical potential for you, if only you act to feel and vibe with where you're headed, to get back on track. And we also have we have the moon conjunct Mercury, both in Scorpio. So we now have stellium in Scorpio, so 3 or more planets in the same sign. And this is even more going to be like a spooky, sort of bizarre sort of day. We have 13 as well, 13 energy coming through, unique alchemist energy, oddball energy coming through. So any like magicians, any witches, any spiritualist mystics, shamans. It's a perfect day to really get into, you know what I'm talking about, to get into it, and also to connect through the veil, which is still thin, of course. And also, if you want to communicate with anyone on the other sides or in other dimensions, it's a perfectly intuitional and communicative day. And we also get Jupiter starting to move away on this day from Pluto. So it's the beginning of the less intense days of massive expansion on the toxicity of what we need to remove from our business, or from our reputation, or from what we need to, the poison we need to drain out of our boundary. Okay, so we're starting to see Jupiter move away, and less of the higher learning coming from that previous conjunction, and more Pluto will be starting to act more on its own from this point. Alrighty, and then the 14th, we have the moon starting to get into this new moon place. So we do have a new moon, which is, if I just try to find UK time, the exact hour, I can do that for you. One moment. Okay, so around like UK time, 5:10 a.m. Hiya, baby. How you doing? How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. And we're just going through the November transits day by day. We're on the 15th of November now. But the 15th of November actually is a new moon day. And UK time, this is going to be around 5:10 in the morning, November 15th. And that's when it's going to be at its strongest, I would say. And new moons are for intentions. So setting intentions, something you want to come to fruition, maybe around the full moon. And so to set that intention. But new moons are also about like feelings of freshness and newness just in general. And so you might feel this push of energy, this new shoot of energy coming through for you around the 15th. So ride it and invest in it. And if you use magic and you are an energy worker, use it to your ability, and take advantage of it. But like I said earlier, with the full moon, new moons as well, some people feel the new moon energy a bit earlier, and some people feel it later than the official date of November 15th. So try to know yourself again, as I said, through, like, for example, moon transit journaling, or just like tuning into yourself and being like, well, what do I feel on the official date? Do I vibe with the descriptions, or did I vibe more with it a week ago? Okay, or a week later, then you can tell. All right, and what we have also on sort of November 14th and 15th is Mars is out of the retrograde. So Mars is going direct finally on the 14th. But remember what I said about Mercury going direct, it does take a little while for Mars to, feeling everything today. Oh my God, of course. Hello, all those Taurus placements of yours. I know. But yes, Mars is direct officially, but when a planet just goes direct, there is a fizzling out sort of period. The energy still needs some time to completely phase out. But it is the beginning of starting to feel your mojo again in the Aries sense. So your initiation coming back slowly, remember. Okay, 2020 is definitely a year of the slow slog. Okay, and the rat year energy is finally starting to cope with that. At the beginning, the rat year energy was like, what the frig is going on? This is my year, it's rat year. What do you mean slow down? Okay, but now we are settling into a more mature rat energy. But Mars as well is starting to kick back up very slowly. And we feel, for example, that we can lead more, or that we can take more, or we can sever more, we can fight more effectively as well. Let me just take it back to, 15th. Okay, perfect. Let's move on then to the 16th. And what we have is the moon in Sagittarius. So we're getting a little intuitional taste of what Sagittarius season is going to be like on the 16th. And the sun, of course, is still in Scorpio at this time. And what we also have is it's building up to, it's actually a very perfect square between Venus and Jupiter. And squares are, again, these uncomfortable energies. There's friction, there's sometimes fights, unease. And Venus is in Libra. Venus is feeling, actually, I think, quite in control here, or has the upper hand. While Jupiter is still, of course, weighed down so heavily by the Capricornian energies, which Jupiter does not enjoy, right? And so this could be something like, having to just acquiesce in some sense when it comes to like a business relationship, or when it comes to your status, having to just bow your head a little bit and say some fake things or some nice things, just to like to not mess things up for your reputation, because Jupiter might really want you to feel like righteous about something that's happened on this day, or around this day, the 16th, especially if you feel like I'm going to critique what has been said or what has been done to me on this day, and I'm going to do it with passion and propagation. The moon's also in Sagittarius, so we can definitely feel this way on that day as well. So the moon's not really helping if you're in that particular space. So just try to take care on the 16th that you rein it in and keep the dignity, okay, and keep the small talk. Yeah, just small talk. And if anyone is trying, or anything is trying to like get you feeling like passionate about your convictions, just take care, because those convictions can come out at the wrong time or to the wrong person, and it's going to cause like some discord. Okay. Then on the next day, we have this square still, so take care, still between Venus and Jupiter on the 17th. But again, Venus is in control, I think. So the more you just vibe with Venusian Libran energies, the better off you will be. And we do have strong sextilage, okay, between the Sun and these planets in Capricorns. This is perfect day to simply, the recipe is all there for you to illuminate all these Capricornian things, okay, status, the perfect time to see the truth of your status, the reality of your status, to realistically learn about your status, and also to fix seriously and properly your status. So the Sun is just going to be like, hey, here it is, recipes there, okay, and it's perfect time to just fall into it. But remember, sextile can be bad as well. So it can fall into the egotistical things when it comes to your reputation. So feeling in power, feeling like you can control others because of your reputation, or feeling like you have a massive reputation or empire or something that you can afford to hurt others with your ego or something like that can also play out. It's just there, ready to happen. So take care. Okay, so let's go to the 19th, which is a fab day, because we have a whole massive stellium in Capricorn, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. They're all there and they're all very close. So if you're a Capricorn sun or you have a lot going on in Capricorn, please just take care, because there's so much like feeling of power, feeling of control, feeling of discipline, feeling of righteousness, and feeling of reactivity and wanting to even be both the mother and the father, okay, on this day. So just take a chill pill. Some of the Capricorn risings will really need to take a chill pill. 6th house, okay. Okay, if that's your 6th house, yeah, and 4th house. Yeah, pay attention if you know to the houses and where these transits are occurring. But I want to mention Capricorns especially, or Capricorn risings, please take care on the 19th. And again, we have this square. Venus is still there in Libra, squaring away at all these planets in Capricorn, and Venus has the upper hand in a few ways, because Venus is also entering the boiling point on the 19th. And this is also 19. It's the day of I must learn, or I must teach, or I must preach. And that has so many different possibilities energetically. But you want to make sure you're doing the right one, okay? And Venus in this square, again, has the upper hand. So decorum, 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 all right? And of course, the 19th to the 20th of November is when Scorpio season starts to end. So we have 27, 28 degrees of Scorpio, Sun in Scorpio. And so the 20th of November, the Sun is 28 degrees in Scorpio, and also at 28 degrees is Venus in Libra, getting ready to hop into Scorpio. And then Mercury is 12 degrees, a divine number, 12 degrees in Scorpio. So you have this stellium about to happen in Scorpio again. And again, Venus is squaring the Capricorn stellium, but the moon has hopped over into Aquarius, and so much more free feels, but also more unpredictable or quirky reactions. Just take care, because the moon is actually on this day strongly squaring Uranus, and Uranus is retrograde in Taurus, and so there's a lot of potential here for some stubborn reactions, stubborn fights, or that kind of relentless energy. And if it didn't work in the past, your rebellious episode, don't do it again, okay? If it didn't work in the past, don't do it again. We need to remember our Mars retrograde lessons, okay? And what else do we have? Pretty much the same. Again, we have the Neptune retrograde squaring the North Node in Gemini, but the North Node on this day is direct, so having the upper hand, but keep that ongoing square in mind throughout the month, where there's constant sort of needing to reevaluate the magic and also the toxicity and or the deception rather of where we're going, where we're headed. So we're going through this really long square, okay, Neptune and North Node. So that's the 20th. And what else do we have? We're going to, on the 21st, have 29. So we've got the Sun, 29 degrees Scorpio, super intense point, and then Venus, again, still squaring the planets in Capricorn, 29 degrees in Libra. And then we have Mercury almost in the middle, so 14 degrees, getting really to the middle, the center of Scorpio. So those of you who communicate with the dead, for example, or scry or do any kind of communicating with other realms, other sides, it's gonna get really potent for you, this energy, or the window is gonna get so open for you. Alrighty, and moving on swiftly, we have the beginning of Sagittarius season. So the Sun, 0 degrees Sagittarius. So finally, we start to get the illumination of the fire season boiling up. But keep in mind what I said at the beginning about Sagittarius season and how this year I really feel it's going to feel a bit less quick and sort of gunshot than it did last year. Because of the overarching energies, the stellium and Capricorn and the other things that we are experiencing in 2020. So I think the fire is going to take a bit longer to warm up. And of course, we have Mercury still and Venus just entering in Scorpio. But the moon is going to be in Pisces. So this is actually a very Jupiterian day. If you're a Jupiter heavy person, it's your day. Okay, the 22nd. Wow, scrying with the lava lamp. That's fantastic. Yeah, I would do. Yeah, please. Oh my God, I would watch that video. Make a video like that, please, if you can, if you want to. On the sort of 21st, 22nd. Well, 22nd will be even better because Mercury is exactly 15 degrees, slap bang in the middle of Scorpio on the 22nd. But yeah, the moon is in Pisces as well, and the moon is trining Venus, actually. This is perfect energy for pleasure, perfect energy for truthful vibing, but that is also healing and wholesome and all-encompassing and forgiving. So it's like the truth, but it's also forgiveness. Okay, so I really like this transit or this trine between the moon and Venus on this day. But remember, trines with the moon are very fleeting. So I mentioned earlier, there was this trine that the moon was making to the stellium and Capricorn, right? But it was gone the next day. So whenever the moon is trining something, take action, okay? Use the magic, okay? Don't be lazy, use it. Alrighty. And yeah, we have, of course, this continuing sextile between the sun and the planets in Capricorn. So continued illumination. But remember what I said about sextiles potentially not being great. And remember that the sun has now entered Sagittarius. So it's easy for our ego to get even more important to us and our ego to get more silly, basically, because Sagittarius is that silly energy. So the recipe is really there on this day. It's not super duper strong, but it's still there. It's there for us to make a silly mistake with regard to reputation. Okay, so 23rd, silly boo, exactly. It's silly boo energy. What we have happening on the 23rd then is the moon is 16 degrees Pisces and it's building up to this exact conjunction with Neptune. And this is also going to be trining very strongly Mercury and Scorpio. So the 23rd is a super insightful day for psychics, for intuits, for empaths, for energy workers, for people who work with the dead, everyone, okay? It's a super intuitional. Water signs, people have loads of water in their chart. It's going to be like a super feely day where you just intuit so much, and especially with regard to the truth and the root of things and the reality of things. but it's a trine here, so it's good magic. So you have so much potential. If you use magic, if you're a water mage or something like that, do it on this day. Or if you want to communicate in some more empathic way or intuitional way, you do tarot. Okay, it's a great day for tarot. But more generally, it's a great way to really, if you've been for whatever reason struggling with the Neptune retrograde, it's gonna, when the moon kisses Neptune, it's a great way for us to get it, to intuit what's going on, to get the actual gut feeling and not just the sparkles that are kind of trying to tell us. We get the gut feeling as well. So it might help some of you this particular day with that wake up and smell the coffee Neptune retrograde that we're all going through. All right, so 24th. What can we say about the 24th? We have a nice little trine actually between the sun in Sagittarius and the retrograding Chiron in Aries. And I really love this trine, just looking at it now, because it looks sweet to me. It looks like the Sagittarian energy is gonna kind of cheerlead us in terms of our pains, our hurt, in terms of feeling like we don't have any gifts, or feeling like our gifts are not like initiating, or our gifts are not helping us with our individuality, or helping us defeat, or helping us just get ahead. I feel like this Sag energy is really going to come through and give us more optimism, and give us start to help us, some of us, build a philosophy which is like, it's okay if I'm hurt now, okay, or if I feel like I can't find my cure now, it's okay. I can channel belief and faith. And also Mars is direct, remember, and it's right in the middle of Aries. So there is a lot of optimism and a lot of potential for just driving and just doing it with this particular configuration. And the moon is 28 degrees in the boiling point of Pisces. And I love that as well. More Jupiterian energy, where we're intensely in our Piscean zone of magic and fantasy, but also belief, and believing within, and believing that just by being you can attract, and just by being you can find, and you can get out of the chaos, and you can get out of the lostness. So channel also anything that is both escapist and creative and has that Sagittarian, you can do it, cheerleader type energy. That's perfect magic that you can do. Okay, let's look at 25th then. We have the moon coming up to basically conjunct Mars. Now, what I want to say about this is that the 25th, you want to be very careful of impulsive reactions, please. For those who need to hear this, those who are very Martian, okay? Because moon conjuncting Mars can be angry reactions, and Mars is direct, so it's going to happen, and it's Sag season, so it quite likely can kick off. So just keep that in mind on the 25th. It's obviously just a quick transit, but that could be the day that you flip on someone. But it's also a super great day to do something impulsive, like creatively impulsive, and to just go for it, to just do it. Not just with the action, but with the intuition, where you feel it in your body as well, that it's the right thing to do, or the right thing to throw yourself at. Remember, we're not in Mars retrograde anymore at this point, so it is a better time to jump into things. And I feel like the 25th is going to give you more of an inkling as to whether or not you should. Okay, 26th, what we have then is Saturn is really continuing to boil up. It's now 28 degrees in Capricorn. So if you're a Capricorn as well, again, take care, please. And there's a lot of sextilage between this stellium in Capricorn and Mercury in Scorpio on the 26th. And this can be like the recipe. Everything is there for you, Capricorns, Capricorn risings, to speak your power, speak your truth, and speak your expansion, your wisdom, and your seriousness. Okay, it's all kind of coming out for you, usually very introverted or usually very quiet people. The potential here is huge. for you to say a lot, to request a lot, to demand a lot, or at least to be thinking that. And it can kind of really start to develop something inside you because it's Mercury in Scorpio. Be careful that it doesn't create any kind of vengeful feelings or bitterness. If it helps, just write it down. Okay, write your feelings out or vent to a willing friend or something like that. But also, it's a great time for us to think really deeply and intensely and truthfully and to our heart, deep, cold heart, about Capricornian things. So our status, reputation, business, our limits, our bounds. So it's all great energy again to be thinking about these things and this stellium in Capricorn. We do, however, have on this day the moon squaring this stellium in Capricorn. So we're not going to feel particularly emotionally at ease with Capricornian things. So keep that in mind as well, because that might also be part of this Mars-Moon conjunction that we had more on the 25th, but you might also have it on the 26th. So 25th, 26th could be a very reactive couple of days if you don't keep your self and spirit in check. And then 27th, this is Friday, Freaky Friday, okay? And basically what's happening is we have this sextile between Mercury and the stellium in Capricorn heating up. It's getting very strong. So remember what I said just previously about saying, like speaking your power and your truth and your severity, especially if you're Capricorn or Capricorn rising. And also what we have is the moon is about to pass over. It's about to kiss Uranus, which is retrograde in Taurus. And so we're getting another look into what the Taurus retrograde actually means for us in the long term. Every time a planet moves over, but especially the moon, every time it moves over Uranus. And so this is a recipe for some, I want to say for some people, this is going to be like reactive, stubborn arguments for some people. For other people, it is having to realize that you need to get out of a certain relationship or friendship or whatever it might be to protect your stability, to protect just what makes sense, because it's in Taurus, right? So you might have this, there might be something, some relationship where you have stayed in it for reasons of decorum, okay? But Venus is now in Scorpio. And it might have been like a contractual thing. You signed literally a contract to stay in this relationship. But the moon kissing Uranus is like, no, I really got to get out of this. So I really want it. I feel like I want to get out of it. So for some of you, it is a day to get out of certain meaningless contracts. Venus in Scorpio is, Venus is said to fall in Scorpio, just like in Virgo and Aries. And so to keep that in mind as well, this Venus and Scorpio transit can be difficult in general for our relationships. They become more cutthroat, or we really only want to stick with those who we have that cold, deep, fast, fixed bond with. Okay, 28th then, we're getting towards the end of November. 28th, we have a trine again between the Sun in Sagittarius and and Chiron in Aries, which again is wonderful. I love that trine. And again, we have this opposition, Venus and Uranus this time, so watch out. Just Uranus on its own this time, so watch out. It's also kind of a bit of emotional fallout from the moon crossing over Uranus on the 28th. So be careful again of overly reacting in your relationships if you don't need to, or being overly rebellious in your relationships if you don't need to. Okay, especially if it's you just being superficial or stubborn. So keep that in mind. But for others, or at other times, you do need to react and get out of contracts and relationships. So the theme continues. We also have the continued sextile between Mercury and the stellium. It's intense. Yes, Alvia, it's intense. My gosh. This increasingly strong sextile between Mercury and the planets in Capricorn. So again, Capricorn rising. watch what you say. I experienced this really recently. I was just thinking, like someone said something and they were a Capricorn. And I was just like, Capricorn, please, please, you don't normally do this. Please, Capricorn, just look at yourself. Okay. Anyway, moving on to the 29th. And the 29th has a very strong trine. Okay, midday UK time on 29th of November, very strong trine between the moon in Taurus and these planets, the stellium in Capricorn. So it's a great day for earth magic. Anyone doing that? It's a great day to see the sense of what you're doing in terms of your reputation and your status. It's a great day to see the sense of your limits and sticking to your limits and sticking to what is like talented and what is quality when it comes to your status, your reputation, and your talents. And what else do we have? We have a square, obviously this continuing square between the North Node and Neptune. And we still have this opposition of Venus and Uranus. But the other opposition I want to mention on this day, the 29th, is Venus and Taurus. And it's very intense opposition because Mercury is 26 degrees in Scorpio. So very soon it's going to get into the boiling point in Scorpio. And it's opposing the exalted moon in Taurus at 27 degrees. And so this can create very stubborn reactions again. But it's like we're saying the things now, or we're really thinking these stubborn things now. But also we could be forced to see something when it comes to the truth and just what it actually is, because Taurus deals with what it actually is, no BS energy, and Scorpio, of course, deals with the deep truth and the core reality of it. And so we might on this day be forced to get a message about something. You know, when we have messages, synchronicities that we're ignoring, we ignore, and then we're forced to see. So the opposition might do something like this to us, and it's very intense. It might have to do with truth or stubbornness or your own distruth or your own disloyalty or it could be so many different things, but it's going to be Scorpio oppose Taurus. It's going to be moon oppose Mercury energies, and it's going to be about messages and intuition because that's Mercury and the moon. Okay, finally, last day of November, the 30th. This is on Monday Moon Day, which is great. So pay special attention to the moon, which has hopped on into Gemini. So a great day for being in your head, but not a great day for when you're in your feelings about your ego or what you want, because the moon is opposed the sun in Sagittarius on this day, the end of November. So be very careful about egotistical emotions or feeling yourself too much and then communicating that or gossiping out of ego. Be careful about that kind of thing. But also you might be forced again to see something that is your right way, or to see something that helps you progress, or see something that helps you communicate better. Something like that can happen with the sun opposing the moon. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then Mercury is entering the boiling point at 27 degrees Scorpio. So get ready for more intense, sort of bizarre scorpionic things happening, and get ready for more intense propagation. There are going to be some people by the very end of November who are really getting into the propagation energies, okay, and they truly, madly, deeply feel it, okay, because we have Venus and Mercury both still in Scorpio, but the sun's in Sag, so they are gonna be very preachy, but there will be some people who are also very good to listen to, who have a lot of new truth for us to listen to, and new optimism for us, especially if you're still in the mindset of your trauma and the mindset of other deep well Scorpio things. So it's good and bad as always. And that's kind of pretty much a brief summary of the November transits for all of us. Let me just take a look at the comments. Wow, thank you for all of these, so many comments on the stream here. Grumpy today, yes, that's possibly this full moon, culmination of grumpiness, and crying and then happy and blissful. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it can be like really erratic and out of the box as well for some of us emotionally, because this full moon is building up to kiss Uranus, which is retrograde, and Uranus just doesn't know what it's doing right now. And yet, put the Geminis into silent mode. Oh dear. Maybe, yeah. I mean, Geminis are going to be Gemini risings. They're going to be the people to look to for the next year ahead, the next 360 plus days ish ahead. They're going to be the ones to look to if we are struggling to get ahead, struggling to stay on our path or finding our path. Pay attention to the Geminis, everyone. All right, that is going to conclude. I have to go. My hubby is going to be here soon, so I'll call it a day. I wish you a happy Freaky Friday. I don't know when this stream will come up, but you will be able to see it eventually on my channel to play back. So please leave a comment once November starts and let me know how it's going for you. And even if you're watching this in October, a bit early, you can let me know your full moon in Taurus experiences, whether it's in the build-up or on Halloween. Alrighty, so I love you very, very much. My name is Henny. I'm an astrology tarot reader. And if you are interested in a reading with me, you can check out my details in the description or go to hennyhigh.com to check out my testimonials and services. And yeah, I'll leave it at that and might see you over the weekend for another one. Take care. Love you very, very much. Mwah.